In today's video, I am sharing my top tips on how to stay consistent on social media. If you are looking to grow your real estate business without ever cold calling or door knocking, you're in the right place. This channel is for you. And today, let's talk about being consistent on social media. It can be hard, right? Sometimes you're creative and the posts are flowing, and other times it's a struggle. So let's talk about the top tips that I have to stay consistent on social media. And first up is picking a platform to focus on. If you are trying to stay consistent on all the different platforms that are out there, it's going to be very difficult because you become a jack of all trades and master of none. So first up, pick the platform that you want to stay consistent on. I don't think there's a right or a wrong answer on which one you pick. It's really just where you feel most comfortable. For me, that's Instagram. So I invested a lot of time, which is my second tip, learning what works and what doesn't on Instagram. Yes, there's always that tricky algorithm that they change sometimes. Sometimes you have to adjust your strategy. But if you are just focusing on one platform, you can then focus on everything that you are learning is going to be focused around the platform that you want to be consistent on. So it's a very streamlined approach. As you start learning and tweaking, obviously you're going to have to be coming up with content in order to be consistent. So tip number 3 is knowing who you are posting for. Who is your audience? Who are you speaking to? You cannot speak to the masses and expect to build community, and obviously the goal is to generate business from social media. So if you don't already know who your ideal client is and who you want to be working with, that's going to be your next step, because once you determine who it is that you are talking to, then you know what content to create to talk to them. You want to be able to solve their problems, provide value in the sense of, for example, my ideal client and who I talk to on Instagram is upsizers. So all of my content is geared towards, are there pain points in their current home? How can they go about being able to sell their current home and buy another home and accomplish that in the most seamless way possible? You really need to know who you're talking to. So that's my next tip. Then I think that this may be the most powerful of all. It has definitely really made an impact in my business, and that is constantly shooting B-roll. And the reason for that is you will then create an album on your phone or a folder on your Google Drive, maybe both, whatever works for you. And that way you always have content on demand, for lack of a better term. You aren't going to wake up one day and go, well, I know what I want to post because I wrote my content out, but I don't have a video or anything to put with it. As long as you have access to B-roll that you are consistently shooting and adding to, you will never have that problem. Now, next tip is the content. You've got the B-roll, you've got the video on demand, but what about your content? And I made this mistake for far too long on social media, and that was the day that I'm going to post, that morning going, what am I going to post today and how I'm going to write this out? And that's the most time-consuming part of creating content nowadays. You are obviously needing to come up with a hook. You need a caption that provides value. There's a lot of thought that goes into it. So put the systems and processes in place to have all of that done as well. I try to write out 10 pieces of content in advance at all times. Does it always go that way? Definitely not. But for the most part, I always have a bank of content to be able to pull from and post. And another tip that I have is, when we are writing content, I use Hemingway to be able to determine the reading level that it's for. So I try to keep it grade 5 or below. If I can do it with a grade 4, that's even better, because that means it's very easy for your audience to consume. You don't want to be creating content that's difficult to read. It needs to be a grade 4, grade 5 reading level, definitely nothing higher than grade 5. By writing your content ahead of time, I don't know about you, but some days I feel very creative, and other days I am not creative at all. It's just not coming to me. I have to have a certain mindset, so I leave space throughout the week to give myself that flexibility to be creative, but also, and probably more importantly, if I am not feeling creative that day, no problem. I already know that I have left space elsewhere during the week in my calendar to come up with content. And sometimes I think you'll find that you'll be driving or in the shower or just living life in general. It's a time when you're relaxed and your brain starts to come up with ideas. Write those ideas down in your phone so that you can visit them later. Same thing if you are scrolling on Instagram or Facebook, whatever platform you are going to be creating on or you're spending your time. If you see ideas that you want to take inspiration from, screenshot those ideas, save those ideas so that you can go back to them when it's time to sit down and write your content. ChatGPT is definitely your friend. I like to refer to ChatGPT as a crutch. That's something else that you can do and implement as part of your process to remain consistent. Don't do a copy paste job from ChatGPT though. I have the paid version and I have trained it to sound like me for the most part, but I can see in content in some cases, and definitely when I'm prompting it, sometimes it just sounds like ChatGPT, and that's okay. It gives you a framework to then tweak and finish with so that then you can have it ready to post. So recap on tips. Pick a platform to really master. You can add another one down the road, but starting out, pick a platform to master. Know who your ideal client is so that you know who you are talking to. Make sure that you are constantly adding to a B-roll album so that you have content on demand as far as the video portion goes. And then also make sure that you are leaving space in your schedule throughout the week to be able to write content and add to a library that you will eventually build over time. You don't have to come up with new ideas 100% of the time. If something performs really well, make sure that you're documenting that so that you can go back and post it again at another time. I would change it up, just slightly, but you don't have to constantly come up with new ideas. Track your metrics and you will know what really speaks to your audience and does well. I hope you got some value from today's video. If you did, please hit that like button. If you are just feeling overwhelmed, you aren't sure where to start, you know you want to start growing on social media and have that as part of your lead generation, grab my free guide for Instagram. It's in the description below. This is not some basic guide. I actually show you what you should be posting, how you should be using B-roll, how you should be picking trending audio, and it's all completely free. Until I see you on the next one, thanks for watching.